Alright, I am starting out with a piece of maple here. It's about 4.5 inches in diameter and 3 inches tall. So I'm going to go ahead and get it trued up and then put a tenon down on one end of it. And this is going to be the bottom of the box. I'm using the Spindle Gouge and the lathe speed's about 2,000. So I'm just giving it its basic shape. I have the tenon on it, so we'll go ahead and put the chuck on and then grab it with that and we'll get this thing hollowed out. So I'm going to make an insert for the threaded rings on this box. So we're going to put a little recess in it to accept that here in just a second. Help support the companies that support our community. Alright, so we're going to make a little recess here to accept the piece I'm going to turn in a little bit, and then we'll get this thing hollowed out. So I'm just using the parting tool, lathe speed, still about 2,000. So it's just a little shelf there that's going to hold on to it, and then I will get the rest of this thing cleaned out, and I'm using the Easy Wood's #1 hollower. So I did an event a couple months ago for, it was a fundraiser for St. Jude's with Easy Wood, and everybody that joined in on that, they sent them a special tool for doing the demo, and it's the Easy Wood finisher. So I don't need 2 of them, so I'm going to give the old one away that I have. So in the comments below, write, let's see, what should we write for it? How about write Easy Wood in the comments? And I'm sorry, but US only, and just because of shipping, and we will pick a winner for that. So this is the insert. It's Bocote, and I'm just hot gluing it on. The hot glue is just regular craft hot glue. The only difference is the gun I use really heats it up. So if you're going to use hot glue, it works fantastic. Just make sure it's not one of the little craft glue guns. It just doesn't heat it up enough. I'm using the calipers to get the diameter there. So this one is the one that's going to go in the ring that's going to go in the base. So on this, we need to make another little recess for it to sit on, and then we'll shape it a little bit, and I'm going to go through in the middle there too. But I just want to get that first ring in there, and then we'll glue this into the base that we just turned. So the reason I'm doing it this way is I've done a couple videos kind of explaining this. The first time I've done like a full complete box video with it, but it really adds a nice touch to it, and it kind of simplifies hollowing the piece out if you're going to use the threaded rings. So right here I'm just measuring the diameter of that recess that I just made in the base of the box. So this is going to pop right down inside of there. So this is a nice way to do it too. It's a nice way to put a contrasting wood. You can do these up ahead of time, and it's going to pop right in there. So I'm just sanding up that little lip there, and then we'll get this thing parted off. And with this, I'm just marking the depth of it with a pencil. Then we'll come in with a parting tool. just making sure I don't come in too soon and knock out that first little shelf that I made in there. It has a shelf that's going to hold on to the threaded ring. There we go. Now we can go ahead and clean this up just a little bit. It didn't quite slide inside that little lip, but you don't need much there. Just need a little shelf to hold on to it, because this part is actually going to get glued in there. So what this does is it makes it easier to hollow it out. If you have to put that recess in there with the threaded ring, it's hard to get back around that corner and get the wall thickness all even. This kind of simplifies it, plus it adds a really nice touch. I'm just cleaning up the lip of the ring there, and then it's a little bit off on the balance, so I went ahead and went across the face of it a couple of times too, just to clean that up, and then resanded the whole thing. All right, now we're going to use that recess to hang on to it with the jaws and go ahead and finish off the bottom of it. And I used a little bit of the tenon as part of it, so I just kind of brought the tenon down and then kind of blended it in a little bit there and come around the bottom and cupped it out. I went ahead and ran through all the grits up to 600. I'm going to oil it all afterwards, after I get the rings put in it. So I just sanded it all the way through. So this piece here is another piece of the Bocote, and this is going to be the insert for the lid. So I can make this one first because I know it has to be a specific size. It just, you know, you can kind of play around with it a little bit, but it has to have a tenon on it that's the inside diameter of the ring. With the first one I did, where I did it on the box, I could make that opening any size I wanted. So that's why I waited and did the box and then came back to it. So we're just going to make the tenon here. And this part right here is the face of it. So this is the only part you're going to see. So we make the tenon, I'll sand all this up, and then the ring will slide right over that tenon. And then the back side of it is actually getting glued inside the lid, so you don't have to worry about cleaning that up or anything. And with this, the video is actually, when I'm sizing these things, it's sped up quite a bit. So just take your time, take little bits off at a time to make sure it all fits together right. You know, I stop the lathe 5 or 6 times, take a little bit more off, check it. So it does take a little bit. Don't get carried away with it. It's hard to put the wood back on. Once I had it all sanded up, I'm just cleaning off some of this material here, and then I'll come in with a parting tool and cut this off. There we go. Now we can work on the lid. So this piece here is about the same thickness. I'm not going to use all of it, so I can save some of it for something else. But it's a little bit smaller in diameter too, but again, it's maple. So same thing with this, getting it trued up, and then we'll put a antenna down on one end of it so we can grab it in the chuck. Alright, we'll get it mounted back up here, and then we're going to use the calipers again to figure out the diameter of the little insert that we just made, what that needs to be. And so we're just going to make a little recess there, get that all cleaned out, and that little thing is going to get glued up in there. And so the other reason for doing it this way, making these little inserts, because it makes it very easy to line the grain back up. If you just put the rings in, it's a little bit tricky to get the grain to line back up. Doing it this way, there's no chance of it gluing itself together with the epoxy or anything else, and you can just put the lid on and spin it to exactly where the grain is, let it sit up for an hour, and you're done. I'm going to just bring this down and shape it, start shaping the top just a little bit, then we'll get it parted off. The only part I do need to sand on this is that little lip there. The inside, the recess, that's all getting covered up, so you don't have to worry about that. So I just sand the lip, same thing with this, run through all the grits up to 600, and then we will go ahead and part it off and flip it around, and then we'll use that recess to grab a hold of it with the chuck and finish shaping the top of it. At the end of the video here too, I'll talk a little bit about the number one, or the finisher that I'm giving away, and I'll show you the one I got from EasyWood. Now we can expand the jaws and tighten it up a little bit, and then shape and sand the whole top of it. And with this, I'm using the number one hollower to do that. Makes a quick and easy job of it. So just when you're shaping something like this, just make sure it has a nice flow to it, a nice curve. So I get the bulk of the material off, and then take some passes over it and just make sure it's nice and smooth. All right, let's get the rings glued in. So I use 5-minute epoxy. I just get this stuff at Home Depot. It works fantastic for this. The first ring is going to go over that tenon. Put it on, give it a little twist. That way it evens out the epoxy around it. And then we'll do the inside ring. On this one, just put little bits around the outside. And same thing with this. Just put it in there, give it a little bit of a twist so it kind of gets the epoxy around it, And this one popped in pretty tight. So I kind of spun it before I pushed it down and then just let it sit up. So I know it just jumped right there. It might look like the same clip, but it's not. There was an hour in between. I let the epoxy set up completely before I did this part. So thread that insert in there, and then you can put the lid on, line the grain up. I threaded it all the way till it was tight, put the lid on, and you're done. So again with this, let that glue set up for an hour, came back and put the oil on it. So when you're doing the oil, make sure you don't get it in the threads, because when it dries, it will gum up the threads. So I just put a little bit on a rag, wipe it off, and then unscrew it, and then just go easy with it. I've even done some of them with like a Q-tip with some walnut oil on it, just so I didn't get any on the threads. Just kind of put it around, just be careful, get everything coated. The walnut oil really brings out a nice color to the wood. And that is it. There we go, it's all done. So again, it's out of Maple and Bacote. It's 4 inches in diameter and about 3.5 inches tall. So using the inserts like this, it really does a few things. It adds a nice little touch of detail. It really, you know, kind of makes it stand out. It also really simplifies hollowing it out. When you're just doing a recess there, trying to get back up around this lip up in here is kind of hard. So it's, you know, just kind of time consuming. Doing it this way, it's just quick and easy. The inserts really, you could make these up ahead of time. You could do it obviously with contrasting woods, but it just kind of simplifies everything. And then the last thing is lining the grain up. It makes it so easy to line the grain up. After you get them epoxied in, let them set up for a little while, screw the lid in all the way, and then put the cap on the top of it, and you can spin it on that little disc wherever you want to get the grain lined up, and then it is locked into place. So it's a fun little project. Yeah, I've done a couple videos kind of showing different parts of it, but this was the first time I did a full video on it. So I'm moving forward. I'm going to do all the inserts like that. I just think it adds a nice contrasting wood, and then, like I said, so much easier to hollow it out and line up the grain. So the tool. So a few months ago, we did an event with Easy Wood Tools, and everybody that was a part of it, they made us these awesome finishers. Nice graduated color. So it is for St. Jude's. So this was it was actually I think it was last year. It was in December, I believe, and it's been a while, and I had the tool, but I didn't really think about it, and then I was wandering around the shop, and I put it back in the tube, and I don't know why, but anyway, I don't need 2 of them. So leave a comment below, in your comment somewhere, write Easy Wood Tools, or just Easy Wood Tool, and we'll just stick with that. You can write Easy Wood Tools if you want. Wednesday, Robin and I will put everybody's name in the randomizer, and I will write you back on YouTube to personal message me us. So, and we will get this in the mail to you. And I am sorry, just due to shipping, US only, but it is in fantastic shape. I mean, it's got a few dings on it, but the cutter's still good, and I will send that to you. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Everybody take care, have a happy Easter, and we will see you next time.